Yes, and then we'll get started. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Deanna, and I'm the what MAGFI does and the problems that we're trying to address regarding international students. Is in assisting people who want to go through the immigration process, get ready, and build their profiles for petition readiness. And then through one of our platforms, it helps guide you through the process of getting your profile ready for um, either a self-sponsored or employer-sponsored immigration pathway. The reason why we do this is we have personal knowledge of how difficult the entire process is. Um, I'm being joined by Emma, who is our CEO here at Makeify. And one of the reasons why we built Makeify is because he has personal knowledge of what it's like to go through the F1 process. And he actually came into the US on an F1 visa. And he also got his EB-1A green card after graduation. So I'm gonna let him take over so that he can tell us a little bit about his story, and then we will also discuss more about how Omegafy can assist you in this process.
Thanks, yeah. Appreciate the brief intro. Little bit about myself. Came into the US as an international student for my MBA, and after a while, I realized that even though it was great to get education from the US, I had plans that beyond that education, I would want to spend some time here to build a career and ultimately build a business. And I quickly realized that the options are slimmer, just thinking about the how difficult it is to get first of all to get a company to hire you, on OPT or CPT, then for the company to be willing to sponsor H-1B for you, it's another conversation. Then if they put you in the pool for you to get selected, it's a different conversation. There's just so many hoops you have to go over for you to finally get to the point where you can confidently say you can stay back beyond graduation. Just looking at the odds for me, they weren't looking so good for an international student. And so I started thinking of what other ways can I make sure that I secure my future, my post-graduation plan. And one thing I tell every international student is beyond whatever you're going through in school today, as you study, as you get your good grades, you can spend 90% of your time doing getting your good grades. Let 10% of your time be focused on your post-graduation plan as an international student. Make sure you're doing something every semester, every month towards your post-graduation plan. It could be just applying for jobs before you even graduate. It could be looking at opportunities that might help you stay back if you want to. It could be anything. And to return to my story, that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. I was in my first year of MBA when I started looking at options. And I spoke to an immigration consultant, and they let me know at the time because of my background and my profile, I was eligible for an immigration benefit called EB1. And EB1 at the time was the most is still the most prestigious green card. I took the chance, applied for that, and in 5 months I got my green card while still in school. So I went from an F1 student to a green card holder while still in school. And a lot of students they start thinking about what
I,
happens. As a matter of fact, most students go through OPT, and towards the end of OPT, they are at the mercy of the university or of the institution or even the employer that hired them. And just looking at the general sentiment around how international talents are treated today, a lot of businesses, even though they love to hire you, just looking at the concern that they would go through with trying to get you your H-1B or whatever visa that you might require to stay back or to continuously work with them. That is gradually becoming a thing of concern for employers. And so my backup plan. Your plan A could be get good grades, find internship, get a good job, let the job sponsor H-1B for you. That could be your plan A. Your plan B could be, you know, as you go through school, start preparing, start doing what you need to do. Find an immigration path that work for you and work towards it before you graduate, before your OPT, and file a green card for yourself before you even graduate. In all honesty, puts you in charge of the whole process. That plan puts you in the driver's seat, in the center point, and you're the pivot that actually determines the success or the failure of that plan. Unlike the other plan where you have to rely on the employer to actually hire you, file variables, I would always encourage international students to look within and see how can I make sure I am in charge of my process. So the purpose of today's conversation is to focus more on how can every international student in the US, regardless of whether you're going through bachelor's degree and the center stage, how do you ensure that you can actually be in charge of the immigration process or your post-graduation plan? That's what we call it, post-graduation plan. Because guess what? The moment you graduate, you apply for OPT, the clock starts ticking from there. It starts ticking. And I know a couple of folks when the great layoff was happening, and ultimately that changed their plan. They had planned that that job would probably, file a petition for them, but unfortunately, when they lost their job, they realized that they're back to square one. So, my greatest advice that might work with you while you're in school. Next step is start working on those opportunities, and most importantly, take steps towards those opportunities. I kid you not, you might be surprised that there are different ways you can actually legitimately either petition for yourself and work with an employer or a startup that will get you about my story. I've talked about what I think every international student should be doing. What I think that, I've talked about the different steps that it might be involved and what should be your plan A or plan B. Just, wanted to pause see if there are any questions or Diana, if there's anything you wanted me to touch on before I go on.
I think the bigger question lately has been why not depend on it?
Exciting question. I
Mhm.
don't know if anyone here plays lottery. Uh, I mean, every lottery comes with probability. There's a chance you would win, and there's a chance you wouldn't win. Now, if we're going to be really on H1B, and that sounds really encouraging until you don't get selected. 25% looks like, oh, it's a lot of people, or especially when you know the numbers, like, they select 85,000 to 120,000 people every year. That number looks huge on resort. I tell every international student that should be your last resort. It means that looking for an employer that will find an H1B should be your backup plan. How you would qualify for a green card should be what you're working towards day in, day out before you graduate. So just looking at H1B, let's break down the H1B process. And then for an employer to be able to file H1B for you, they have to be willing to pay you at least a minimum of $60,000 a year. That's the minimum salary for H1B. That's not the only documentation they have to file, meaning that when they hire you, you are not able, unless you have a work authorization, you are not able to work with them until they complete that paperwork. So let's put it in perspective. You got OPT, you're working with the business. What they needed to do, put you in the pool, and you don't get selected that year. Remember, your OPT most times is 1 year, and if you're in a STEM course, you can do extra 2 years extension. So if you only had 1 year for OPT, it means that if you don't get selected that year, put you in the pool the next time, your OPT would have expired. And so it's too much gambling to wait till OPT just to get a job to do H1B for you. As a matter of fact, I have a friend we came into the US around the same time. It went through the same process from F1, OPT to H1B. Now, he eventually filed green card, and the biggest concern he had was the officer kept saying H1B, and it's been 3 years they haven't approved his green card. Just because there's a time lapse between when he went from F1 to H1B, because he was in the same situation. He went through H1B selection once he didn't get selected. He got selected, but his OPT expired before his H1B was approved. I mean, he was able to move on to H1B, but that became a problem for him down the road when he filed a green card. And so here is calling out to everyone to be proactive. The goal here is we want to make sure you're setting up a plan, depending on what level you are, how much time you have. Is it a 1 year plan? Is it a 6 month plan? Is it a 3 month plan? Is it a 2 year plan on how you would take charge of your immigration journey post graduation? I hope that answered the concern around H1B DNA.
It did. And I think a lot of people or a lot of students also have OPT if there's so many limitations on what roles you can take on?
That's an exciting question. Yes. Um, the thing about okay, let's establish let's use EB2 national interest waiver. Just let's just use that as an example. And if you're an OPT, there are some way. Exceptional ability, there's so many things you can do to secure exceptional ability. You can win Staff of the Month, you can publish materials, you can be part of projects that are novel. There's just so many things. Now, when you're an OPT, what you should be looking for is opportunity to do substantial work. Now, if you and most importantly, document all of that. So I was going to miss that, but that's the most important thing. Documenting all of that. And that's what helps you build a case. So if I'm operations manager or something lower than that, and I lead people, I make sure Amazon doesn't lose money, I build shifts, I take care of scheduling, all of that. I would document the impact of my work, not just my activities. We have if I don't do my job, this is what would go wrong. If I didn't do my job or if I wasn't good at my job, this is the loss that it would have brought to the business. But because I'm doing my job, because I'm bringing this skill to play or I'm bringing this skill to my job, this is the advantage my employer or my and so that is how I envisage planning for post-graduation. If you're an OPT, for instance, anything you do has an impact. For instance, if you work in a place that all you do is read documents, let's say you work in the at the DMV, just for instance, and when people come in, your job, your job is to look at people's form and make sure that there are no discrepancies, so that we don't have people getting make sure there are no discrepancies. You need to talk about the impact of your work. You would say average of 1,000 people get turned back every day, increasing the queue, increasing the number of people that get in line and the burden on the employees at that location. My role is to reduce that concern. I do that by making sure that I scrutinize every document of the door with success. That is me documenting the impact of my work, not just the activity that I'm actually performing at my job. I hope that helps the way I talked about. I try to use something as simple as that so that we can all understand how to approach talking about your work.
Education to that impact to your proposed endeavor for the national interest waiver?
That's a good question. Education impact and your proposed endeavor. First of all, your education build it should be slightly related. It might not be directly related, but you should be able to connect it. If you let's say you're a nurse. You're a nursing student, and you worked in a clinic. That's easy, right? In a hospital as a manager, even though the vertical is totally different from what your education is, but there are business managers everywhere, whether in healthcare or anything. So it means that as you look at how you want to talk about your role, you're not just talking about healthcare. You're talking about the impact of business manager, talking about the business side of healthcare and why, somebody has to keep the book. Somebody has to know, how to build a business. Some healthcare sector. Speaking to why your degree is helping you drive impact in that role. Now, to your proposed endeavor, if you say in the future that, well, I haven't worked in healthcare and see how I can help transform. I'm able to apply whatever I've learned or done in healthcare to agriculture, technology, and every other vertical. Because at the end of the day, what I'm doing is making sure the businesses are rightly positioned, the bottom line is not impacted, the customer experience is good, and all of those beautiful things. So at the end of the day, you have to connect what your degree is in applicable to several several areas beyond the small niche that you have applied it. And that's one of the new things that the national interest paper is asking for right now. They want to know that it's broadly acceptable or it can be broadly applied. So just looking at a business manager that worked in an hospital that helped them build the business side of the healthcare business, they can take that particular knowledge, that particular impact, that particular business regardless of the vertical.
Mm. Okay. So then, how about you give us a real world example of how you use your background before you came into the US, the degree that you got here, and then how you positioned yourself for EB1 before you graduated?
I like background because people will be like, well, it looks like you were well achieved before you came here. But I'm gonna I'm gonna talk about what I did. So before I'm Nigerian by background, and I had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree from Nigeria before I came to the US at all. A partner that we both exited. It means that we grew the business, it became successful, we sold the business twice. So we did two different businesses that we sold. And I came here for my MBA. Now, those were good ingredients for me to be eligible for EB1, but that association. My MBA at the time was in business intelligence at Cal State San Bernardino. So I started looking at different opportunities, associations for business intelligence. I was, making sure I'm part of professional bodies. I was looking at how to write and publish paper in the area of Internet of Things, business intelligence, AI before it became a big thing. And all of that I was doing deliberately alongside my education so that by the time I want to apply for an EB1, I have enough resources to show the impact of my work. It wouldn't just be that, oh, I've grown a bit, I grew two businesses and sold it. I was working on things actively that could have significant impact to the US economy. I was contributing, I was mentoring, I was joining associations, I was speaking in both small and big stages. I mean that within the school, small user groups, join panels. I can share my idea. Like the bachelor's degree students are having a program. They need an MBA student in technology to come speak to them. I show up. They need someone to be on the panel to talk about to judge the work of others. I show up. So I took those little things those different showing up in associations and beyond and outside of campus school campus, making sure that I'm creating a network that is helping me drive impact beyond just school. Those little things became very important for me when I was going to apply for my EB1.
I know that one of the ways that you found those speaking engagements was by submitting resumes to different called for judges. I know that a lot of people don't even know that that exists, and that is so useful for EB2 and IW and EB1A. And so I just want to put that out there so that if you look online and you see that there's call for judges in what you're studying, you definitely want to start submitting your resumes to that. So before I ask another question, I just wanted to see if either Lee or Clement have any questions for you. Does anyone have any questions for Emmanuel? Okay. So, another question I want to know is what would you advise people in this new climate that we're in? How do you advise them to continue building?
Well, I think this climate is I'm pretty familiar with this climate. I say that without, I'm not trying to minimize what's going on right now, but I moved I came here for my MBA during Trump's first presidency. So a little bit of this sentiment was around then. So I can tell that this is not totally new to me, to be fair.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's a unique time to actually be building. And like Diana said, this is time to start looking at opportunities where you can volunteer. Like there are different call for judges or call for paper, different things you can start looking at and maybe submitting the paper to be published, writing a book, participating in judging the work of others, participating in conferences. Like it is time to start looking at other opportunities, start building a profile. You have to build it consciously. You can't be passive about it. Yeah, you have to actively build a profile. If you set a goal to apply for a green card path, the first you start looking out for opportunities. Some of this would not even cost you money. You just need to search the right resources and just apply, submit your resume, and you will get called and you can be part of the program. It not only helps you build a profile, improves your network, you get to meet more people and kind of helps establish you as an industry expert with time. Because at the end of the day, when you then need a reference letter for your application, you can go back to the same institution and say, hey, I'm going through immigration process. Are you able to write me a letter just to back my application? And because they're a third party, bigger impact on your petition because they can independently say that they've worked with you or they've shared platform with you and they can speak to your proficiency, your expertise, your skill, or at least the impact that you drove during that time. So you see how everything kind of connects. You're looking for opportunities to volunteer, but at the end of the day, you would need those opportunities to come back and help you when it's time to apply. So if there's anything I would say right now, the first thing is you need a profile review where you can reply. Understanding where your profile sits today and knowing where it needs to be is the game changer for you. That's what happened to me. I started by understanding what exactly is where do I stand and where exactly do I need to be. And I quickly saw the gap and I started working towards that gap. As soon as I closed that gap, I was confident to apply. And interestingly, the immigration consultant that helped me 8 years ago was Deanna. She's right here on this call, and that's why she's here. So first things first, everyone take advantage of the opportunity to get a profile review that gives you a gap analysis. I think Imagify does it for free. It's free consultation where you just plan to move from where you are to where you should be so that you can apply with confidence.
Yeah, so you moved into the next question I was going to ask you is why are we here today, and what specifically can Imagify do for those of us on the call?
I think we're here because I am passionate about supporting international students, and this is beyond university. Our partnership we're partnering with Cal State San Bernardino, for instance. We're addressing all the international student community next month. Uh, we're constantly doing this to support that particular persona, understanding that it is a huge investment to come from another country, spend thousands of
Mhm.
dollars to go to school here, and still be here and not be able to become realize there's hope, there's a pathway that would work for you. And why we're here today is to, extend that hope to everyone and say, Let's help you find what works for you. But it starts by you letting us do a profile review for you free of charge, letting you know, hey, based on your profile, I think you should be working towards EB2 national interest waiver green card. This is the pathway for you to get there. And that's exactly why we're here today. So for everyone on this call, you have access to free resources from our team to help you understand where you stand and help you build a plan towards where you need to be.
Do you have any last words for anybody?
My last thought to everyone, start now. Or undergrad, if today is your first day, start now. Do not wait till your OPT. Do not wait till graduation. I promise you, you will be overwhelmed by then. But if you start now and start putting plans in place, you will be amazed where you would be in the next 3 to 6 months. So, final word is start now.
Amazing. Um, okay. So Clement asked, how can he get a review?
I think to get a review, there's an email in chat. It's just submit your resume or profile to hello@imagify.com. They're going to reach out to help you set up a free 15 minutes call where you can speak to if you bring people who are not international students, they can't get access to this. It's only for international students. We already know it's difficult to go to school here. We're not trying to add to your burden, but we're just here to support. So send your profile, they set up a call time with you. You come in with your questions doing, and you can do what you wish with that information. Now, if you want Imagify to support you beyond that, of course, you can let us know. If you want to go back and sit with that plan and build it up yourself, absolutely fine. My joy or our joy as a team is we've been able to help you realize what your path should be. And we know that at least one more international student has been saved from the worry of what happens post graduation.
Yes. No? Okay. So then I want to thank you, Emma, for taking the time to be here with us today. I want to thank everybody on the call for being here today. If you have any more questions, please feel free to email us at hello@amagify.com. If you want us to review your resume, please feel free to send that in. We are doing this because we understand the pain. We understand what everyone on this call is going through, and so we want to be here to help. So if just take advantage of it if you want to, no pressure, but definitely give us a chance to be able to see how we can assist. Anything else you want to say, Emmanuel, before we wrap this up?
Well, nothing else. I just hope everyone takes advantage of this. We all know how much it costs to do consultation out there. We're doing it for you free. No, there's no catch to it. I know a lot of people when we say it's free, they're like, "What's the catch?" Absolutely no catch. Just take advantage of it, and if you wish, I know you'll be better off for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, everyone. I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you so much, Jenna.